Well, the quilt is growing. Right now it's 20 inches by 28 inches. And I just want to give you a little bit of perspective on how the size is coming up. I'm thinking that I'm going to go up to like a 36 by 50, nice size lap quilt, but we'll see uh, how it works out, okay? But this is about a 20 by 28 right now. And let's look at it a little closer. You can see that it's staying very scrappy. It's staying in the string strip look, and just using bits and pieces of fabric, as you've seen me do, all my little bitty stuff that just isn't much good for anything else. And if it's a little bigger, then I strip it and tear it, so I make it work. All right, so I'm coming up here to where I'm working right now. I just came up this right side with this piece, and it's part of it is still pinned. I am still working on it. I have a little gap here at the end that I'll be filling in to finish this particular size of 20 by 28. But I think everything is looking great. The stitching, let me come in closer. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm stitching it well, because I do want this to be a sturdy, nice quilt, and it's going to be. And so you can see how it's working out here. Okay, all right. Let's go back to the desk and do a little stitching. Well, here we are back, and I just thought I'd like to do a little stitching with you. So grab your needle and something to sew, and let's just sew together for a little bit. You know, I've never done what my grandmother used to do, and that was have quilting bees. When I was a little girl, I would visit her, and when I would visit her, sometimes her little quilting group would come to her house. They would take turns each week going to each other's house and working on their quilts together. And so while I would be visiting her, sometimes they would be coming to her house. And I just love that. You know, I was too little to do any quilting because, for one thing, I didn't know how. And, but I could watch and I could observe, and it was fascinating to me. My grandmother's quilting frame was one that my grandfather built her, and then what they would do with it when it wasn't being used was they would pull it up to the ceiling, and he had it some way where they could pull it up evenly and then attach it, and so her quilting frame always stayed on the ceiling with her quilt on it that she was working on. And then when it was time to work on it, she could lower it by untying some ropes and lowering it. And then I can't remember exactly, but it seemed to me at least 4 or 5 ladies could get around, and maybe even 6, get around that quilting frame and quilt from all sides. And anyway, that was fascinating to me. I wish I could remember more details, but anyway, that's what I remember. And so I always thought that was pretty cool. But I've never had the pleasure of just sitting around working on a quilt together with someone else. And I thought that would, that would really be nice, wouldn't it? So this is as close as I'm going to get to a quilting bee, with all of you, visualizing you sitting around working on your quilts as I'm working on mine. And that's a nice feeling. I'll take that any day. One way technology is helpful, isn't it? Sometimes I get really irritated at technology when it doesn't work, especially. But also the time that people spend on it. I just see people ignoring their family and their friends while they spend time on their devices, and it just, you know, it hurts my heart because nobody's getting talked to or interacted with. Just everybody is on their own device. Kind of sad. Go to a restaurant, nobody's talking and laughing over the interchanging of conversation and thought. They're just all on their devices. It's kind of sad. That's not everyone, of course, but enough that it really bothers me anyway. But I love technology when it improves our life, helps us in it. So I love YouTube. I love the opportunity that YouTube give to people like me who just want to share something that they love, a passion of theirs. And so it gives us a way to make friends across the world, to share ideas and encourage each other down a similar path of interest. And I think that's wonderful. I do want to take a moment to talk about our project, our next project. I have had so much positive response, and so many people have reached out to me to say continue to do quilting projects because they feel like I have a different approach. They feel like I have a different style, and it's something they want to branch out. They want to get outside their comfort zone or their little boxes, and they want to do something different. And so they're just really, really nice about, please, continue to make these projects your way. And so I am going to do that. I am going to make a second quilt this winter. When I get through with this one, I will be starting one. I've already made it known that we will be making it out of scarves. So if you have old scarves, now is the time to collect them together, the ones that you can cut up and use. And if you don't, now's the time to start collecting. I have quite a few, but I'm going to be going to the Goodwill or thrift store and picking up some more because variety is a key to having a beautiful scrappy quilt. And my particular thrift store that I really like, a couple of times a year they put their scarves on for $1 each. And you can't beat that because that's quite a bit of fabric for $1. And they do have a good variety. Another thing, if you can't find scarves, look for unusual fabrics. A lot of time fabrics that are in party dresses and different decor fabrics, something like that. Anything that is a little different from just the quilting cottons. Okay. Now, if quilting cotton is all you have, and you take a look at what I'm going to be creating and you think I'll just use that, then I say go for it, because I'm all about using what we have, taking care of that. Now, all of us can't go out and buy scarves, even if they're $1 a piece or less. We just can't. For one thing, we might not have the money. Another thing, we might not have a resource. No thrift stores in our part of the world or whatever. So we're going to use just whatever we have. But if you do, I'm telling you early so that if you do have those sources, you can check them out. And as soon as I get through this little bitty piece here, I'm going to show you, give you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, let's take that to the back. I'm going to take a picture of the back of this when I get through. it's organic art. That's what you call it. It's just, it is what it is. It grows where it grows. No embellishment. Clean up a couple of these longer ones here. Little snippies. Put them in my thread bucket. Okay. All right, let me put this up for just a second. Now, what I'm going to be working on in this next quilt is I have a 6-inch ruler that has a 1/4 inch on each side, so the blocks actually come out to be 6.5 inches when I use that ruler. 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches. That's what I've got. That's what I'm going to use. Again, I'm going to be doing a lap size quilt, not a full bed quilt, but I'm going to be doing it in squares this time. And I thought this size square was good for me. I can handle that. As you know, I have a little arthritis in my hands, which makes it hard for me to bunch up a bunch of fabric and stuff. But I can work from the center out on this, and that's how I will be working, from the center out. And I think that that's a great size for me. But you do whatever it is you do that you can handle, that you want. And you don't have to do it in squares. You can do this any way you want to. Because I am going to work a circle pattern, I felt like the square block starting with would be the greatest thing to do. Okay, I will be attaching these in the same manner that I'm doing now with my Scrappy quilt. And I will be reinforcing all the intersections. So it will be a Scrappy quilt, but it's going to be done, mine is in scarf fabric. So let me show you. I have some scarf fabrics here cut up already. Now this is, I have probably about 20 more scarves that I'm going to be cutting up, that gives me more variety. But as you can see, I'm just stripping them out in just pieces, but kind of linear pieces, so that I can use them. But the nice thing about the scarfing is that it's so malleable that you can squinch it and squunch it any way you want to. And what I intend to do is make a circular pattern with these scarves, squunching up this fabric. Let me get this back here where I need it. Squunching up this fabric and sewing it in a circular pattern around and around. Okay, let's say that's my center. Okay, and I will be working other fabrics around this one. Okay, and I will be hand sewing everything down and putting lots of stitches in this. Okay, but using the texture and the squunch to add to the interest of the quilt. And all these beautiful scarf fabrics are so good for that. Whether it's a heavy texture, this light one here, or a heavy texture, it can all be used like that. Okay, this one here that's woven, lightly woven, just take those, I'm going to take those raw edges, tuck them under, squinch them around. So I'm going to be doing something like that, okay? I may be bringing some over, under. I don't know what I'll be doing exactly. As you know, I'm a very intuitive stitcher. I make it up as I go along. I fly by the seat of my pants, you might say. I have a basic idea. Basic, I'm going to start with a 6.5-inch square. Basic, I'm going to start with a circle pattern. Okay, how this is going to end up, I don't know exactly. You're going to have to come along on the journey with me. But I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be totally unique and original. And we will have something very beautiful when we get through. So start getting those fabrics together and get ready, because I think by, oh goodness, maybe by the end of January, I'm thinking maybe another month on the quilt I'm on. I don't know, depending on how life treats me. We'll see where I'm at the end of December, but I'm thinking sometime in January I'll be starting the second quilt. All right, but definitely this winter. If it's not January, it'll be February. So it gives you some time to get your batting, your threads, your fabrics you want to use. You can see what kind of fabrics that I'm going to be dealing with. Anything that is so malleable and soft and pliable and twisty and turny, you can do all that with it. And that's what we want to do, okay? So, all right, let's put that away. That's for another day. And come back here to our project we're working on. Let's see, where am I? I'm over here. Okay, yeah, I'm right here. Okay. I'm coming down this long strip here. I've got this side, a little bit of that's in the middle. I'm fixing to just sew these two little pieces here on the side so I can get these pins out of them. The more pins I can get out, the easier it is to handle. Gotta find me some thread. Here's a piece of green. I do some straight stitching. I do some split back stitching when I need stronger pieces or stronger attachment. Straight stitching and a lot of just overcasting the sides. You can see that there's a mixture of all of it in there. Here's some just straight stitching in here. Here's a couch stitching over pieces here. Little decorative couching in here. Lots of overcasting. Okay. Some more straight stitching. Some straight stitching, overcasting. So you just decide what you need. A lot of times my split back stitch is done on when I'm stitching pieces on the back. Okay. But anywhere you think it needs to be just a little bit sturdier, maybe you have more lightweight fabric or something, you're just not sure how that's going to turn out. Well, you know, use whatever stitches you want. And if you want to take the time to do decorative embroidery stitches, well, you know, that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to embroider on this. I just want to make a fabulous scrappy quilt. And for me, it's already fabulous. I'm my very best critic, okay? And I don't allow any quilting police in here, so nobody can tell me I'm not doing it right. I'm a mess, aren't I? Yeah, I know. But I want to enjoy what I do. And I know that what I do is okay. I've done this in the past in this form, not exactly this quilt, but and I know it works. I still have things I've made in this that are still very good, very strong. Been using them for years. So you can't tell me that this won't work because I know it does. And again, this is not going on a child's bed. This is not going to get overworked. This is a lap quilt for my husband, and he's very good about taking care of things like that. So I mean, he's not going to rough it up or anything like that. And so you know what you're making and what it's for. Something like this in pastels for a baby quilt, wouldn't that be gorgeous? Little scrappy pastel baby quilt. Whoa. The size would almost be done for that, for a baby quilt, wouldn't it? This would make a nice table runner. Just, you know, pretty decoration on the end of your bed. Make it a little narrow and long, and just, you know, how you lay it across your bedspread, or just it's not actually a quilt to sleep under, but more of a home decor piece. That would be pretty. A wall hanging would be gorgeous, hung as a wall hanging. Just so many ways we can use our little scrappy quilt. One time I saw, oh, this was a long time ago, but I believe it was on YouTube. I was watching a video about a lady that lived in a cold climate, and she made quilts for curtains because they were thicker, and of course they gave her more insulation when she pulled them, you know, tight, closed the window with them. Gave her more insulation from the cold penetrating the window. And I thought, well, that was a cool idea. I never thought about that. But then we buy sometimes insulated curtains ourselves to protect against heat and cold. So why not a quilt? And I thought if I were going to use it that way, I would probably put extra layer or two of batting or something in between, make it thicker, and then that would probably work pretty good. They would be in smaller pieces as curtains, and it'd also make it easier to wash, hand wash, and take care of. Okay, we're about to come to the end of this one. Got to pick up a couple little pieces here that I've got to sew down. Let's see. Let's do it this way. Let's go down right here, and then we'll come back up in that corner, and we'll do that little couching stitch that I'm doing over that little piece right there. Just couching down these little slivers, strings of fabric. And I just love them because where else would you use these little pieces? But here they're decorative and useful. Add to this quilt. I just love it. Okay, I'm not sewing this long edge right now. I'm just picking up some of these little additional pieces that since I'm in this area. this little square here that I just added for interest. And if you're wondering about all my different elements I put together, all my different pieces, they all have a triangle somewhere in them. And so the triangles are popping up everywhere all over this quilt. They may be added on the top, or they may be part of the original layout that I do, but they are there. One lady told me, I just can't do a quilt that doesn't have a triangle in it. So I thought, okay, I'll put some triangles in here for triangle people. As I said, I've gotten so many positive responses to this quilt. I'm just so happy that so many of you are finding it to be a useful project and something that you think you would enjoy doing. And I know it's maybe a little uncomfortable if you haven't done anything like this before. And I'm just so proud of you for just wanting to strike out and do something different. And use up those scraps. They just need a place to live permanently. You know, housing for scraps is a real problem. They just lay around and never get their own house, do they? Okay. Let's do a little tie-off knot here. Okay, we'll come back and trim that in a while. Okay, I just have this one. And as you can see, sometimes I just put a strip, like these are actually joining. These are two join sections right here. Very little piece I slipped in here, and but I like to not make them just always so symmetrical, just ending in certain places. But like this one, I brought it down. I did that with another piece on the other side, 2 or 3 pieces, and it just really helps to keep the scrappy pattern going where there's no particular pattern. Okay, you can't just sit down and say, well, I can graph this out or draw it, because you can't. There's no particular pattern to this. And the way I keep that going sometimes is to add something goofy in, something that, you know, doesn't line up with everything else, okay? All right. When we join pieces in rows, we definitely have these long pieces, but I don't put them in fabrics that you can just say, oh, that's one long line there. And then I try to break them up too. And as you can see, I add pieces on top of pieces to give it more, you know, scrappy look. Okay, I've got to get another piece of thread and work on this some more, and then I will be sewing this and down this and coming up and getting this part in up here, this little square. And if you don't know how I do this, well, please go back to the beginning. This is the 6th video, and all the construction techniques are all in the videos from starting with the first one. So take the time to go back and start with the first video and watch it progressively. Everything that I'm doing, I have showed in detail how to do it in those. And so now I'm just really enjoying my time with you more than anything else. And I'll be doing this, and then I will be making some more sections to start another round. Until then, let's all stay very scrap happy.